Alright, so in my last video, there was an error. So if you tried to build the application and log in twice, you probably got this error right here. It says access token expired 2121. So I searched on the Vivox forums and I got this. This is what popped up, and the answer lies with this. So I told you guys the wrong way to do it. So fix your time span to from seconds. The way I was doing it was new time span. So I was doing it new time span, and I didn't have the from seconds. So I did it like that, and that's the wrong way to do it. So just wanted to let you guys know that to fix that, so it'll work properly. Alright, so I think this video is going to be mainly code, not much UI going on. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add some callbacks for the audio state and for participants. Now for the audio state, we want to know when we're connected to the audio and when we're disconnected from the audio. And for the participants is basically users. We want to know when a user logs in, when a user logs out, and we'll get updates on that. And based on those updates, we can then update the UI on however we want to do that. So let's get into the code. Alright, so in the on-channel status change method, we're basically going to do the same thing, but for audio and for text. So I'm just going to make a method down here, public void on audio state changed. We're going to pass in object sender, and same thing as up here, property changed event args. Property changed event args, we'll call it audio args for audio arguments. Alrighty. And then we can basically duplicate that with Control D. And instead of audio, we'll do text. And then, so we're still receiving an iChannel session as a source. So we can copy this up top and then paste it into both of these. And then, but the arguments are going to be different. So we'll do another switch. And this time we're going to do source dot audio state, and in this one, oh shoot, okay, and then in the for the text we're going to do another switch, and this one's going to be source text state. Alright, shoot, switch. Alright, there it is. And then we'll just go and do all the cases. So case audio, I guess it's audio state. No, it's connection state. So case connection state, connecting is basically the same thing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do it real quick. Okay, so as you can see right here, I basically just copied the on-channel status change, and it almost looks the same except for my debug log statements, because it's still connection state, and then the text state is connection state. So, and then I pressed control and then the mouse wheel, and that kind of, you can change the size of the code. Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to show you something real quick though. I wish I would have learned this earlier on in my journey. So if you gotta click where you want to enter like new information, but if you hold Control and Alt at the same time in Visual Studio 2019, I can click down here, and then I can keep clicking wherever So wherever I want. So right here I got 4 different places where I can enter information. But I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna click down here, and then I forgot to put text right there, but we'll start it off. And then so I got eight different spots now, holding down Control and Alt and then just clicking, and then we're gonna type in channel. So bam, I typed in channel 8 different times, just by doing that. And then you gotta click out of it though when you're done. Don't press enter or else it'll like mess up your code and you gotta undo it. So yeah, and that's how a fast way to edit code, multiple lines of code. So I just wanted to show that real quick. Alright. Okay, so for the channel status, so you'll notice that up top we have the channel session property changed and the login session property changed. So if you've watched my previous videos, we went over all this, and I'm gonna put a link in the description for what do you call it, GitHub. I'll put a GitHub link so you can get the code, and you'll be able to see like earlier versions of this application. But so you would think that for the property change on the channel, since we're getting the states of this channel, audio state and the text state go through this property change, but instead of subscribing to it in this method, we're gonna do it manually, and we're gonna do it in here in the join channel method. So I'm gonna do if is audio, then I'm gonna do channel session dot property changed, and then right here is where I'm gonna add the on audio state changed, and then we're gonna do if is text. And the reason being is I don't want to do it all in one method, because let's say I only want to subscribe to audio, or I only want to create a channel that's audio and not text. I don't want to subscribe to the text channel if I'm not making a text channel. It would be a waste, I guess, and it may cause errors. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but better to be safe than sorry. Okay, so we're gonna do on text state changed. Alright, and then I'm gonna copy this, and we're gonna go down and then catch it, just in case there's an error, and we're gonna minus, add the minuses to unsubscribe. Okay, so I just wanted to show that real quick. So we will now get updates on audio state changed and on text state changed. Alright, so now that we got the proper subscriptions, so basically, let's say the audio state connected, and you would probably want some code here to do something. And what I noticed, I didn't explain it in my earlier videos, but just real quick to kind of go over the concepts of using Vivox, and the main reason being is up top here, we got this don't destroy on load, and this is for when you change scenes. You want to keep this game object because it's going to hold our login session and our channel session. You don't want to keep recreating sessions when you change scenes. You want just one instance of this throughout the whole game for that specific user that's playing your game or logged into your chat application. And so because we're going to use this same script, we do run into a problem with, like, let's say, so the UI, for example, I ran into this problem when I was doing it, because you'll notice on the credentials we got all this UI variables. So what you're going to do is create another script for the UI. So I'm just going to do login or lobby. We'll do lobby UI. And I'm not going to go through it right now, but you're going to want to create 2 different scripts. So one for your login credentials that will stay regardless of a scene change, and then lobby UI is that's where you're gonna want to put all of these variables for your UI objects, game objects. Okay, so and basically, so let's say you wanted to log in, or you wanted to get like, let's say my login method, where's it at? Okay, so my login user, when I log in the user with the button, I'm using a UI element, which is the input username.text. So if I'm trying to access, so let's say I change scenes and I'm still trying to access that UI, you're either gonna have to put something here that says like, if you're gonna have to check for null, basically. So if input dot username dot is not equal to null, so that is a workaround. You can just check for nulls for anything, but imagine you got a lot of UI elements. That's gonna be a very big method, and we're trying to keep things as clean as possible. So what I would recommend doing is creating events. So I'm not going to go into it right now either, maybe in the next video, but so I'm going to create a script called Vivox events, and this is going to hold all our delegates, all our events, and we're going to be able to subscribe our lobby is going to be able to subscribe to Vivox events, and our login credentials is going to fire off the events. And basically, so when we change scenes, we can just subscribe to an event and we'll still get all the callbacks for the audio state changed and the on text state changed, because these are technically callbacks. This debug.log is going to call back when the text channel is connected. So yeah, I hope that made sense. I will give examples probably in the next video, and then also one more concept that I wanted to kind of just introduce early on is having a base class, and it's not necessarily we're not going to inherit from it, but it's just going to hold all our base variables. So for like the client information, because eventually you're going to want to have a separate server that has all this information, and like let's say you log in using Mirror or Photon or something, you're going to want the client to connect to your server, and then that server is going to pass the information back to the client. So the client should never know what this information is, only the server should know this information. Alright, so I'm going to go back to Unity, and then we're going to create another script. I'm going to call this base. I don't know what I'm going to call this. We'll just call it base credentials, since it's going to store all our credential information to log into Vivox. And then actually I'm going to go to Vivox login credentials. Going to open that back up, and then I'm going to click on the login credentials, and I'm going to press Control and tap R twice. So Control and then press R twice, and then I'm going to change this to Vivox Manager. And then so basically with the Control, press R twice, that any, like, if I would have just changed it manually, I would have had a bunch of errors. Like, let's say I just change it to V. I'm probably going to get an error. Okay, because I only got one script right now, I'm not getting an error, but that's not what I want to call it. But Vivox Manager will change all instances in any of your scripts to Vivox Manager. And then, as you see, it says login credentials, and then it's going to change it to Vivox Manager. So it also changes the file name when you do the Control R twice. So next, what we're going to focus on is adding participant callbacks. So I guess we'll create the methods first. So there's channel methods, join channel methods, and then we'll close out the login methods, and we'll press Control KS and then create a new region. This one is going to be user callbacks, and I'm going to call it on participant. I'm using the Vivox terms, basically, just that way you can follow along in the documentation. If you want to read up on the Vivox documentation, it'll look similar because I'm basically copying the code. Hopefully that's legal. Alright, and then for this one, what are we gonna get? Okay, so if you're ever, public void. So if you're ever trying to subscribe to an event and you don't know what parameters you need to pass for the event, one way I found out of doing it is, so let's say we're gonna go up here to the channel callbacks. Actually, let's make a new method and we'll call it public void bind user callbacks, and then we're gonna do bool bind and iChannel, get the iChannel session, call it channel sesh again. Okay, so if bind is true, we're going to channel sesh property changed participants. So yeah, so what you're gonna do is go to channel session and then participants, and then after key added, and then plus equals. And so this is where you find out what parameters you need to pass through the on participant added. So if you hover over after key added, you can see it says event handler key event arg string. So what we want is a key event argument that holds string data, and then it says Vivox Unity I read only dictionary string I participant after key added. So what that is those are the arguments that are going to be passed from the sender, and the sender basically the sender is I read only dictionary with the string and I participant parameters. So that's what is sending, that's the data that's being sent once the after key added event is fired, and because we're subscribing to it, we're looking for the arguments, which is going to be string. So I hope this makes sense. It's kind of complicated, but if you read up a little bit, it'll make a lot more sense. You want to read up on delegates and events, and even arguments. I forgot what, I think it's, yeah, event arguments. That's what you want, event handler and event arguments, if you want to read up more on that. Okay, so we're going to call this participant args for argument. We got 2 errors for some reason. Oh yeah, right here. Okay, so now if we try to add it on participant added, you'll see that we don't get an error because we put in the proper parameter. So we're gonna do var source equals and like I was saying earlier, the I read only dictionary, was it dictionary? I think it's dictionary, and it's gonna be string and I participant, and we're basically casting that back to the sender. Doesn't want to work for some reason. And why doesn't it want to work? I read only dictionary string iParticipant. That should have worked. Okay, what's it saying? So you gotta put a Vivox Unity before it, because if you have, I think, generic, if you have the system collections generic, that also has an iRead-only dictionary in it. It has a class called that as well, so you gotta put Vivox Unity to fix that error. Alrighty. Okay, so there's we have the source now, and then we also have participant arguments. So if you just go source and you try to see what that is, you're basically, that's the channel session, I think. No, it's not the channel session, that's the dictionary, my bad. So you can subscribe to this dictionary, but we're basically doing that right here with the after key added, so there's no need to resubscribe. So it looks like what we want is participant arguments, and there's the key. So if you press the key, okay, I'm sorry, that was wrong. Okay, so by pressing so basically what we want is so variable, let's call this user equals source keys, no, sorry, my bad. So this is a dictionary, so you're gonna want to do source, pass in the participant arguments as the key, and then basically if you hover over user, it's gonna say iParticipant. So you can also do this, iParticipant user. So now we can access the user and see what is going on with the user. So we can go to the account, we can find out the display names, the issuer, whoever sent it. We can also, if you look through here, there's audio energy, how loud their audio is, if they're in audio, text mode, whatever. So there's a lot going on here. We'll cover that in later tutorials. But yeah, so now you have the user object, and you can pass that either through an event, or you can have some code here that, like a debug.log, and then we're just gonna say do string interpolation real quick, and we're gonna say user account. I'm gonna get the name instead of the display name, because sometimes if you didn't set the display name, it might be empty. And then so user account name, and we're gonna say has logged in, or has joined the session. Has joined the session. Has joined the channel, actually, my bad. Alright. So we're also gonna do this for the removed and for the updated. So I'm gonna do that real quick because it's basically the same process. So yeah. Okay, so I basically just copied the onParticipant added, and then so for the second method we're gonna do removed. So onParticipant removed, and I'm just gonna say that this user has left the channel. And now for the onParticipant, the third one is gonna be updated. So instead of a key event argument, we're gonna want a value event argument of type string. Okay, I lied. You're gonna want string and iParticipant. Okay. And basically right here we gotta change the source. So instead of hold on. Okay, so we're not really gonna worry too much about this. I'm gonna delete this debug.log statement because we don't need it at the moment. I'm gonna come back to this in a later tutorial, but at least you'll be notified when a participant is added and when a participant is left. and let's say this would be the spot where you would be like text, or you would, you know, like this would be where you would alert your UI that someone has left. So up in this little box right here or something. Okay. Okay, so the last thing we want to add is up here. I'm just gonna duplicate that twice, and then we'll do before key removed, and then we'll do on participant removed, and then we're gonna go update after value updated, and then we're gonna go on update participant updated. Alright, so we are now subscribed to those callbacks, so whenever something happens with any user, including yourself, you can get updated about it. And then add the minus sign to unsubscribe. And that's basically it for subscribing. I'm subscribing to participant events. Also, we did, what else did we do? In the join channel, we did the audio state and text state. Okay, so I'm gonna refactor this code a little bit into these new scripts that I created. So I'm gonna go to base credentials. We're gonna open that up, and we're just gonna start transferring stuff. And that way you can kind of see what I'm doing, and as you can see, like as this project develops, we're starting to see how there's better ways of doing things. You don't have to do it this way. This is just one option of doing things, but it'll make your code, I feel like, more clean and readable, and more modular, meaning that not all your code is in one script, meaning you can have different components, and then like basically combine them together to create your game, I guess, instead of having your game in one script. Like, what happens if there's a bug? It might be very hard to find that out because your script will be so long. Okay, enough talking. Let me do this real quick. Alright, so base credentials, we're just gonna get rid of these statements. I'm gonna paste that up in here. So we're gonna get some errors. So we gotta using Vivox Unity. Okay, and we're gonna take the UI variables. I'm gonna get rid of those, and we're gonna open up the lobby UI script, and we're gonna add those in here. And we're gonna have to put using actually, I'm just gonna duplicate this, and then using Unity UI, Unity Engine UI, and then also using TMP Pro. Okay, that fixes those errors. What else we got? So the URI, if you press Control period on it, we need system to make that work, and I guess we made time span work as well. Okay, so we're going to also move this code into the base. No, we don't want to do that. My bad. Okay, what we want is to reference the base credentials. Base credentials. I'm gonna call this Vivox. And actually, so in the base credentials, we're gonna delete the mono behavior, and then in here we can go equals new base credentials. If we didn't delete this mono behavior, then it wouldn't let us call new up top. I think we would have had to call it in the awake function like we did here. So right here we're just gonna go Vivox.client equals new client. Does that make sense? doesn't want to do it. Oh, so these are all private. So you can do protected or public. I'm gonna do public. Actually, I think protected is for inheritance. So we're just gonna change all these variables to public, and to do the trick I showed you guys earlier, and just delete all that and then type in public. Alright, so we should be good to go. So I gotta save it. Alright, it still doesn't want to. Why is it doing that? Public. Oh, that's not public. My bad. Alright, so now that should work. So I'm just gonna add Vivox to all this, since we're using the instance up here. And it is like, it seems like I'm doing more work because I gotta call Vivox first before the client and all that, but I think it's the better way to do things. And the base credentials, like, because the Vivox manager isn't gonna be destroyed, it's gonna hold this reference, the whole game or the whole instance of your login session. So all this in the start method, we can transfer that to the lobby UI, put that in the start method, and then so we do have a problem here. So this is where the little trick I showed you earlier comes in handy, because we can press Control Alt and then make sure you have it clicked. You gotta at least define the first one where you want it, because if it's just randomly and then you press Control Alt, it's still gonna type something up here, and you probably don't want it up there. Like, let's say, oh shoot, my bad. Let's say I just type something, see it types it up there. We don't want that. So make sure your first click is where you want it. Actually, before I do that, I'm just gonna type Vivox dot, and then I'm gonna copy that and then remove that, and then alright, and then go through all of these errors. And then now I'm gonna paste with Control V, and bam, I just added Vivox dot to all that. And so we're gonna do the same thing down here. And so I didn't show you this from the beginning because I didn't want to overcomplicate things if I didn't have to, but as we're progressing through this process, this application is going to get more advanced, and we gotta do things a certain way to get the results we want. And I feel like this is a decent way of implementing Vivox. So we're gonna take all these UI, so these are all UI methods. We're gonna get rid of those and throw them in the lobby UI. Get rid of update for now. Okay, and so we got all these UI variables, but up top we're gonna do, I guess it can be private. We'll do private, and so there's two ways of doing this. You can expose this. You can expose your Vivox manager. Vivox manager in the oh shoot, my bad. All right, I'm gonna call it Vivox or credentials. Vivox manager. Yeah, I'm gonna call. I guess we can. Yeah, I'm gonna call it credentials. Sorry, I'm confusing myself. So credentials, because even though we're not accessing the base credentials, we're getting the credentials from the instance of Vivox manager, which is Vivox. So I'm gonna make this public actually, so we can access it. And then, so if we save this and then go to Unity, we don't have, So I'm gonna create a new game object, and I'm gonna call this lobby UI, and I'm gonna add the lobby UI script to it, and then okay, so it didn't save it because I have all these errors. So what can I do? Okay, now that we have our credentials, I'm gonna do the same little trick and then just go right before all the errors. And then I'm gonna type in credentials, and it didn't fix the issues. Oh, credentials and then Vivox. Credentials and credentials. Okay, so I guess we might want to make this join channel Vivox manager. For some reason it doesn't want to find it. Let me see, can I convert iChannel session to Vivox? Why doesn't it want to do it? Okay, so we're gonna go credentials.vivox. It still doesn't want to do it. Okay, I realize why it doesn't want to do it. The join channel method is in credentials, and all these variables. For this, we just needed Vivox Unity, so I pressed Control period twice, and then you get that error is fixed, and then in here we're getting the iChannel session, so we didn't need that, and also same thing here. Okay, so those errors are fixed. Sorry about that. Okay, and then so we got some more login methods. What do we got going on here? Alright, so the logout method, that is a lobby script method, and the login, we can keep that, but what we need to do is add the Vivox right before it. And login session, also need to add Vivox, and Vivox again for these two. Okay, and then this is a UI lobby method, so we're gonna throw that over here, paste that, and so we need to get this from the credentials. And you can name this whatever you want, whatever makes sense to you. Maybe this doesn't make sense to you, so you're like, what's going on here? And we're getting the session from Vivox. So this is also credentials and Vivox. And so I'm getting the credentials Vivox basically from credentials up here, which is a Vivox manager. And if you go to Vivox manager, we have a public Vivox, which is a new base credentials. So we're getting all the stuff we need from this script, and then in this script we're getting all the stuff we need from this script. So it's like inheritance without inheritance. Alright, okay, so I think that's everything that we needed to do. Not yet. Okay, what is this? We're gonna want to add. So this is an example of the UI that I was talking about earlier. So now we have a. So I can get a lobby UI. I can create a public lobby UI, and then call this lobby UI equals. So actually, I'm just gonna do that. And then I can go right here and before the text I can be like lobby UI, and it's not public, it is public. Okay, so these are all serialized fields, so see, that's not really a good way of doing that. So if you're gonna, because serialized fields are the better way of implementing UI elements instead of doing public. So you could do public here, that way you can access it in this script, but this is where I would call in an event. So I would call an event right here, and then in the lobby UI I would subscribe to that event, and then I would run this code. So basically I would have the username text change in this lobby script instead of having it over in my Vivox manager. So I'm just gonna delete this for now because we don't need it. And then right here we gotta add Vivox. I know this is a long explanation, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to give a decent understanding to the best of my ability. Alright, so this should all be fixed. What I meant earlier when I was saying there's two different ways. So see, now the lobby UI, we have the UI elements exposed because they are serialized fields. But we also have the Vivox manager. So you can expose the Vivox manager, and then login credentials has a Vivox manager script on it. So I can go back to the lobby and just drag these credentials in there, and bam, we now have the credentials, login credentials, Vivox manager. And then same thing for the credentials. I can just drag in this lobby UI, just like that. And then there's one more way of doing it. So like, let's say instead of dragging it, I can make this private. I can make a private lobby UI, and then in the start method I'm gonna go lobby UI equals I'm gonna do game object since they're on empty game objects, and then game object find object of type, and I should only have one lobby UI, so it's gonna find the instance of lobby UI. So it'll find the instance right here, this game object. It'll find that guy, and it will then I will no longer need this right here. So if I save my script, Control Shift S, go back to Unity, it disappears because I made it private. It's now a private variable, but I'm gonna get the instance right here because this game object I'll find is gonna find it. You can also, what else is there? There's a get component, but that's for if it's on the same game object. So there's probably a better way of doing this, but I think I'm just gonna go with how I had it. So I'm just gonna undo all that, and we're just gonna keep this public and expose it in the public or serialized fields exposes things in the inspector like this, like that also. So yeah. So I know this video is pretty long now, but I wanted to kind of refactor this code and show you my process, my workflow. So hopefully you learned something, but I know this was mainly for audio and text and participant channel properties and callbacks, but because this is a series, you're gonna kind of see how this UI, my UI right here, and then how the application develops, and how all this code, we're gonna have so much code, it's ridiculous. So instead of having it all in one script, I'm kind of just gonna show you how to keep changing things. And even though it's more work, and I should have just shown you that way from the beginning, it's also more complicated, so I didn't want to throw that on you guys all at once. So bear with me, please. You can always skip through these little sessions. I know when I watch tutorials, I pause the video a lot. I see what they're doing, copy the code. Sometimes I can just understand what they're doing just by pausing, looking at the code. Alright, let me skip a little bit. Alright, and all that. So yeah, this is basically the end of the video. We did a lot, even though it doesn't seem like it. And in the next couple videos, we'll start getting into sending messages, and hopefully I'll make some updates to this UI, just so as we get more features implemented, we're gonna need some buttons to press and some more input fields. Alright, so see you in the next video. Bye.